Six young adventurers and one guide set out on a hike through a mountain range in Siberia, Russia. The weather was perfect. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Within minutes, one of them is foaming at the mouth, bleeding from the ears. Another begins smashing her own head against a rock until she is covered in blood. A third hides behind a rock, hiding from some invisible threat. And in the center of this unfolding horror stands one person, the sole witness, the only one still in her right mind. Welcome to the mystery of Kamar Daban Mountain. In August 1993, an incident occurred in the Kamar Daban mountain range. This remote range lies south of Lake Baikal in the Russian Republic of Buryatia. The area is a popular destination for tourists from around the world, known for its mountain hiking and breathtaking landscapes. The highest point of this mountain range is Mount Khan Ula, at 2,370 meters. In terms of altitude, it's entirely at alpine level, a standard hike, reaching just over 2,300 meters. No technical skills required, no special gear needed, just a normal hike through alpine terrain, the kind of adventure tourists undertake every day. The only real challenge, patches of snow near the summit, even in summer. By all accounts, this should have been a routine hike, but it turned into anything but normal. What makes this case truly remarkable is that there was a survivor. The then 18 years old Valentina Ochenko later gave a detailed account of what happened. In August 1993, 6 young people, 3 women and 3 men, set out on a journey to the Kamar Daban mountain range, traveling there by train. They were excited for a multi-day hike, and the weather forecast promised perfect conditions. Upon arrival, the group met their guide, Ludmila Korovana. After settling in a village called Morino, the next morning they rode to the starting point of their hike on the back of a truck, ready to begin. After the group had been traveling for a few days and had already covered 70 kilometers, the weather changed. It became very cold and it started to snow. And since strong winds also arose, the mountain guide decided that they should find a campsite. They set up their tents between 2 mountain peaks and wanted to camp there until the weather improved. They spent the night there and the next day around 11 AM they set off again. But then everything was supposed to change for the group towards afternoon. One of the young men, 24-year-old Alexander, suddenly got foam at his mouth and started bleeding from his ears. He died in front of his friend's eyes. Valentina Ochenko reported that at the moment chaos broke out. The group's mountain guide suddenly fell down dead. A later autopsy determined that she had suffered a heart attack, presumably triggered by the shock of Alexander's sudden death. One of the girls, named Tatiana, started making wheezing sounds and grabbed her throat, as if someone were strangling her. And then she started banging her head against the rock, until blood sprayed and she fell down dead. Apart from Valentina, 4 of the groups were still alive, and they suddenly seemed out of their minds. They were hallucinating. One of them, Dennis, hid behind some rocks and didn't want to come out anymore, because he apparently was terribly afraid of something. The other 3 wandered around disoriented and didn't respond to Valentina's calls. Valentina seemed to be the only one still able to think clearly, the only one untouched by whatever had overtaken the others. She tried desperately to calm the remaining 4, who were still alive, to get them to retrace their steps down the paths they had climbed the day before, but they refused. Eventually, Valentina gave up. She grabbed her sleeping bag, some supplies and a compass and ran. The others' behavior was becoming increasingly erratic and aggressive, and Valentina, barely 18 years old, was overcome with fear. Carrying what she had taken, she made her way down the path the group had climbed the day before. In a spot slightly sheltered from the wind, she crawled into her sleeping bag and spent the rest of the day and night there, frozen in shock. The next morning, Valentina climbed back up to the campsite. There, she found her friends, all of them dead. Their clothing was torn, and the snow around them was stained with blood. One detail stood out as particularly strange. The mountain's guide body was lying on top of Alexander, the first to die. To this day, no one knows why. Perhaps she had been pulled there during someone else's final struggle, or it had happened in the course of those last moments. Valentina remained frozen in shock for a while, but eventually she realized she would die there too if she didn't act. Carefully moving among the bodies, she took some food and retrieved a map from the mountain guide's backpack. Then, with nothing left to hold her back, she set off to find help. The mountain guide's daughter shared the same profession and was also traveling in the area with another group, though on a different route. According to what Valentina had been told, there was a point where the two routes crossed, a spot where the mother and daughter had planned to meet with their respective groups. That was the point Valentina aimed to reach. She later said she walked the path almost as if in a trance, still reeling from the shock. At an altitude of 2,300 meters, she came across a relay tower, with dusk falling and the tower offering some shelter from the weather. She spent another night there. The next morning, Valentina noticed lines leading away from the tower and realized they would likely guide her to some houses. Indeed, they did, but the houses had been abandoned for a long time. With no other choice, she returned to her old path and, after some time, reached a river. She followed the river downstream, and after hiking another 8 kilometers, she collapsed from exhaustion. Yet, even in her state, she acted resourcefully, unrolling her red sleeping bag and hanging it in the bushes as a signal that someone was there. Her signal worked. A group of hikers from Kiev found Valentina and rescued her. With no settlements nearby, they immediately set out for the nearest village, a journey that took several hours. Once there, they alerted the authorities, who dispatched a search team by helicopters to investigate the site. It took the search team a long time to find the bodies of Valentina's friends. When they finally did, the scene was one they would never forget. The bodies were swollen, almost bloated, a condition that can occur with rapid decomposition in the cold, but which might also suggest other internal effects. Some of the hikers had removed parts of their clothing, and 3 were even barefoot. The mountain guide, who had died of a heart attack, was found lying on top of Alexander. The bodies were taken for autopsy. After the examinations, investigators had nothing concrete. They could not determine the cause of death for the group, and so the official report simply listed hypothermia. Yet, despite the official report, it was clear to everyone that what happened did not fit hypothermia at all. People don't foam at the mouth or bleed from the ears. They don't repeatedly smash their heads against rocks until blood flows. These symptoms suggest something far more sinister: poisoning, a neurological disorder, or an extreme psychotic reaction, or maybe something else. The only element that might theoretically match hypothermia is the fact that some of the hikers had removed their clothing. This is known as paradoxical undressing, an event that can occur in the advanced stages of hypothermia, when the body suddenly feels unbearably hot. But even that doesn't explain the full picture. Hypothermia is highly individual. It depends on body size, weight, and physical condition. It's not something that would strike 6 people at once. The idea that 5 adults could fall to hypothermia in a short time, while an 80-year-old survives without special equipment, is extremely unlikely. Over the years, several theories have been proposed. One theory suggests that the group hiking at around 2,000 meters was caught in a storm with thunder and snow. It's possible that ozone, a type of gas, settled closer to the ground during this time. Normally, ozone forms high in the sky during thunderstorms, but under certain conditions, like temperature inversion, it can drift down and become harmful in high amounts. Ozone can irritate the nose, throat, and lungs, causing coughing, shortness of breath, and dizziness. In very high amounts, it can even affect the brain and nervous system. However, it's unclear whether ozone could cause such extreme reactions as bleeding, self-harm, or hallucinations. And if it did, why was Valentina safe? What if the mountain itself wasn't just terrain, but a place where reality bent in strange ways? Imagine a localized temporal or dimensional anomaly, a rift in time or perception caused by the unique combination of altitude, weather, and geology. As the storm hit, the anomaly could have distorted the hiker's perception, causing hallucinations so real that their brains reacted violently, foaming at the mouth, bleeding, self-harm, and extreme paranoia. The anomaly might also affect different people differently, which could explain why Valentina survived while the others didn't. The rift's effect weren't equal. The guide lying atop Alex wasn't random, because the rift was overlapping with reality. Both were bending at the same time, and this clash of forces produced that final scene. What do you think about both theories? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. See you next time.